Alright, another perfect parking into the pit lane, I guess. So here we are, back for another setup. And this time we are at Spa-Francorchamps, Wales. It's the legendary Spa-Francorchamps. 7 kilometers long, the longest track on F1 calendar for the longest time. And let's head into the setups and see what can we do. And no, not replay, garage. All right, now for the setup around Spa, it's the obvious. You'll definitely want to go for as much top speed as possible. The reason is because, well, you have the pit straight and exit of turn 1, which is called La Sauce. So out of La Sauce all the way to Rouge, Radion, and then the Camel Straight. So it's pretty much about 20-ish seconds or whatever of full throttle. And that will be your main overtaking opportunity on the track. And then after that, sector 2 is all the twisty bits where you have to carry a lot of momentum. And the good thing about this, underfloor, these cars with a downforce generator in the floor, this ground effect cars, they can generate a lot of downforce in the floor itself. So you don't really need to run as much front wing and rear wing. So you can get them down as much as you need just to be able to take all the corners comfortably. At the same time, it reduces your drag, so you're so much quicker on the straights. And yeah, the setup may vary from driver to driver preference. Some may prefer a bit more understeery, some may, like me, prefer a bit more pointy car, so the front bites into the corner and then I get the car turned in mid corner and line up the exit. That's how I like it. So yeah, as you can see, the setup here, it's pretty special. No, I mean, not really any special, but again, it's going to come down to your preference. So let's have a look at what I went for and what I'm going to try out in my league race later this week. So 5.5 on the wings makes sense because you'll need a bit of downforce here and there. Even in somewhere like Monza, I'm actually running 5.1 or 6.1, just because that actually gives you a lot more cornering speed and helps to look after your tires as you progress in the race. Same concept over here, except Spa has a lot of high speed corners, so you don't really need that much front wing to generate the downforce for you. The floor itself does majority of the work, so just run enough wing to make sure you're not understeering through these high speed corners. Experiment with it, go up 1, 2 and 3, and then if it starts to oversteer, go back 1 or 2. You'll find the perfect balance. So 5.5 is what I'm running. This is for the drive. For the wets, of course, if it's gonna be inters or full wets or something, yeah, possibly 10-10. You don't want to go too high on the wings even for the rain, because then you will be vulnerable on the straight, on the the first sector and the third sector where the long back straight is before the bus stop chicane. So again, just 1 or 2 clicks adjustment for qualifying will do. In the rain, maximum +5, I'd say, is a good balance to go out. Transmission here again, starting to really like low on throttle, because it allows me to, as I'm putting down the power, the rear of the car rotates even more. So it creates more rotation under acceleration, which is something I like. Allows me to point the car where I want to. In high speed corners, this is especially useful because you can be so precise and you can gain a lot of lap time just by needing the entry and getting the car on power so much earlier in the mid corner. So 52 is what I'm going for. In the race, of course, it's gonna be a bit higher. From your MFD, you're gonna adjust 1 click higher. That will give you up to 57. So in the race, this is gonna be more preferable, whereas in qualifying, 52, 53, you can adjust it in the pit lane. Okay, off throttle again. This is to create rotation on the rear, right? 50 will give you a lot more rotation on the rear, but given that the nature of this track and the setup, you're running very low downforce, so you're gonna need some sort of stability in the car, mechanical stability. That is going to come one way. It's from the off throttle. It's to make sure the rears of your car are not sliding too much when you're taking these high speed corners, and at the same time, under braking, you do not lose the rear end. So when you're braking heavily into a corner, trail braking into a corner, your rear end doesn't step out, so you do not get oversteer moments into braking zones like first corner and the bus stop chicane, the last two corners basically. All right, 53, it's also possible for the race. I'm going to use 52 for the qualifying, 53 in the race, because that is going to be a bit more stable. If it's going to rain, then I'll keep it at 52. That's just nice also. Suspension geometry, always the same, right, left. You will not believe, if you just take the preset setup and you load the preset setups suspension geometry, this versus the convention that we run, right, left, this is probably about a tenth or a tenth and a half, even 2/10 quicker throughout the lap, because you're gaining so much time on the straights due to reduced drag from this suspension geometry setup. Again, the details doesn't matter, but it makes you faster. It makes your cornering faster. Rear toe, of course, if you increase it, it's going to make the rear more stable. So probably 1 or 2 clicks of this if you're really struggling on traction and getting the power down in high speed. 1 click will do. It will induce a bit of understeer. Then you can compensate it with maybe 1 extra wing, or maybe reduce your off throttle or some sort, or soften your suspensions. That will allow you to gain front end grip. Right, you're stabilizing the rear. You need to compensate for that. Now, coming to suspension, well, this is out of the ordinary that I normally run. Front suspension, if you notice quite recently in the most recent setups, I like to run it very soft. That's to allow the front of the car to have more grip in on corner entry, especially in slow speed. But in medium speed, it also works. But in high speed corners where Spa has pretty much all the corners are high speed, you need to carry a lot of momentum into the corner and out of the corner and mid corner as well. Having it high suspension also stabilizes the car with low downforce. So I'm gone for 9.1. If you feel your car is understeery, let's say on corner entries, you can either increase the front wing, but that will come at the cost of slightly more drag. Maybe it will help. If you gain 2/10 in the corners and you lose only like 0.05 on the straights, that's a good compromise to have. If you feel like the front of your car doesn't bite into a corner, or it's too understeery on braking and entry, you can reduce it. But if it's too unstable, let's say you run something like 6 and under braking the car feels unstable, and when you throw it into corners the car wants to turn more than you turn it, then you can definitely go higher on the suspension to make sure your car is more stable on corner entry. Anti-roll bar on the front, again, this is more for mid corner and high speed change of direction. Again, Spa has a lot of quick direction changes here, quick rides, quick laps, just flick the car, throw the car around. And having high anti-roll bar on the front will help your car to be more stable and more predictable in high speed. If you go any lower, you can. It will allow your car to rotate even more in these corners. But the problem around in Spa is these curbs are very deadly. It's not like other tracks where you can kind of accelerate or go over the curbs. In Spa, even like Puan, if you touch the inside curb, you're going to spin out. So having a stiffer suspension and anti-roll bar setup will help you to reduce the chance of death in case you touch these curbs accidentally. You can just immediately lift off. Make sure your car is pointing on the right direction. Ride height, special thing, of course. Given that this track predominantly is long straights, two sectors full of long straights, you want to maximize your top speed. The default, in the balance, the maximum top speed preset is running 2.3, and then if you run it higher like this, you're easily gaining 2/10 on the 2 to 3/10 on the pit straight till camel straight, and then on the back straight alone you're gaining another 3/10. It's like free half a second there if you're running a high ride height on the front and somewhat decent on the rear. On the race, you don't want to run it too low. 3 is okay-ish, feels more stable, but in the race I'll prefer to run 4, just because it's a bit more safe and cautious over the curbs. You don't lose your car, and it helps when you have higher rear ride height. It helps you to rotate the car on power in high speed corners, even just generally on acceleration, and helps you to get the car into a corner as well much quicker. Front ride height, you don't need to go too high. It comes at a point where, you know, the higher you go, the more understeer you'll get, and you're not really gaining any more benefit on the straights. You may gain maybe like 0.05, you know, half a tenth basically, but in the corners, because of the understeer introduced by too much right height on the front, you will probably lose a tenth or two or even 3/10. So it's not really a good compromise to have. 8, 9 is somewhat the balance I like. Rear right height, I've also tried 5. You can also work around with that, but you know, it's kind of unstable in these high speed corners, so I'll leave it at 4. Brakes, 100 on the pressure as always, 51 brake bias, because again it's a low downforce circuit, and there's a lot of high speed corners. I don't want the rear of the car to be unstable when I throw my car into a corner. So, you know, to help with that, 51 brake bias, make sure the rear doesn't slow down too much, doesn't lose grip, so there's more stopping on the front, and that'll allow me to keep the rear stable and point the car where I want it. It will be useful if you run this 51 brake bias, let's say somewhere in like turn 1 or at the end of the camel straight or at bus stop chicane. These are the 3 places I would recommend trying out at least 1% higher brake bias in your hot lap especially, and in the race you can adjust it as you go. Tire pressures. This is something to be experimented with. In time trial, I've gone with slightly high tire pressures here because it increases the stability of the car. And in the race, you know, if you do your practice runs, take mediums on full fuel or hards on full fuel, and if you get overheating on those, then yeah, you definitely have to reduce your tire pressures. But the benefit of running low downforce is that it generates less tire temperatures. So knowing that, you can always safely run 1 or 2 clicks higher on the tire pressures. This will also reduce your tire wear very so slightly, and this will also increase your stability in high speed. Even in slow speed, let's say traction zone out of the last corner, out of turn 1, it's a bit more stable. The car is a bit more balanced. You don't feel like the car is going to overstay at any time. Of course, you have to be smooth on the throttle. Any higher than that, yeah, then you're just asking for trouble on the tire pressures here. If the race goes from dries to wets, it is always better to run slightly higher tire pressures, because during the transition from dry to wet, when it starts to rain, you lose tire temperatures. Higher tire pressures will make sure your tires stay within the good operating range for a lap or two longer, and you'll gain time on people in front of you or behind you. If it's transitioning from inters or wets to dries, so from wets to dries, you want it to be lower, just so you know, when it starts to dry up, your intermediates do not overheat, and then the rest of the race you'll just have to manage with, you know, whatever tire you take, mediums or hards, you'll be fine. So this is what I'm running here. Recap it: 5.5 on the downforce, 52 on retransmission, 57 during race, and right left geometry as always, no changes in that. 9.1 suspension, 10.1 anti-roll bars, and 8.4 on the right height. Brakes 151. I think I did 51 throughout the entire lap, just because in time trial it's a bit more, you know, sketchy in terms of grip and you know, stability. But in a real session, it depends on your tire wear as well. You feel like the car is getting lighter and too pointy, yeah, you can always go up 51, 52, will be just nice. Tire pressures: 2 clicks on the front, 5 clicks on the rear. This is what you can run if you're starting on the hard tires, but I'll always recommend starting with minimum front pressure, and around here 3 clicks on the rear pressure, so that your car is still somewhat stable in high speed. If your car is not overheating, the tires are not overheating for you, then of course go with higher pressure. It will also help you with race pace down the road. Intermediates, just go +5.5. It's going to be a full inters or full wets race. Full inters probably 10.10 will be good. If it's full wets, maybe just 1 or 2 clicks higher than that, +2 wings, you know, that will be just nice. Yeah, that's about it, and that's all you need to do. And off throttle in the rain, you can reduce it by 1. If it's gonna rain in between the race, it's up to you. You want to prefer the dries or prefer the wets, you can adjust it. If you want to cater the setup for the dries, 52. If you want to cater the setup for the wets, 51 or 50. I'd say 51, just so it's more stable. Yeah, that's about it, and have fun with the setup. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, whatever, comment, and let me know how the setup works out. Again, if you have any questions, you can always ask in the comment section and the Discord channel. If you can join, I'll probably answer some questions over there. I don't really do much, but if you want to ask, I could do. Okay, so that's about it. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, and bye bye.